Hey guys, it's just Matt here, just doing you a quick video on how to design a partial denture within 3Shape to go with the myerson product. So say something like Duraflex. This will go for either Duraflex, Duracetal, also the VisiClear as well. So either of these materials, this is pretty much what I'd suggest to design with. Denture has the ability for cold cure to bond to it, whereas these other ones like Duraflex, the VisiClear, Duracetal, they don't. So you've got to make manual retention within the denture. So I'll just quickly take you through a design. So obviously for your partial, let's just keep it simple. I'll just do I'll just, rather than doing the whole thing, let's just focus on 2 teeth. Right, I'll just call this a model, and we'll call it an RPD, and then with the teeth, if you wanted to do separate teeth, then I'll keep it as artificial teeth. If you wanted to have the teeth to be part of the design, like with acetal all tooth color, then obviously you choose a Pontic, and then the teeth and the partial become one. But if you wanted to have teeth separate, the clip in, that's how you design your denture, or partial, I should say, like a flexible partial. Yeah, I'm not really phased about materials at this point in time. Doesn't really bother me. All right, cool. So we go like that, and then I'm just going to import in the scan. And let me just go to my where 3Shape dental system demo cases are. No, not lower. That'll do. All right, so we're going to go right click design. So going into this case, I don't have an opposing on this one. So this is just a simple one, so I'm not going to be testing it in occlusion or anything like that. Once your design comes in, obviously, I'm not even going to bother refining the occlusal alignment. Spin that around, close enough. Sculpt, if you want to do any sculpting, you can. That's not the reason for this video though. Annotations, I'm going to click on my 2627. So blocking out, you choose whatever your path of insertion is going to be to block out your undercuts. You can set from view, and then obviously if you hit preview, you can see where your block outline is going to be. Within the wax trimming, I'd use the remove tool, and I'd remove where I'm going to be engaging. Bless me, in, and then if you turn the color off, you can see now where the undercuts are. So I want to engage in a fair chunk of these undercuts because the material itself is quite flexible. Yeah, like if I were to do one, not that I'm designing over this side, but I'll just, make sure I've got the undercut area, still blocked out, but, take away the wax where I want my partial to go. What I would also suggest to do is use a smooth down here, just so that you don't have like a big, if you can see that, you don't have a big sharp lip, because in some cases your denture design is going to be coming up over there with like a wing. So like say this one, I'd smooth that off just to soften the area that it's so you don't have like a big gaping hole in your design once you finish designing, because essentially your design may go over that, So anyhow, that's fine. Next, I'm only just going to design it on this side. First step, with tooth composer, sculpt and move these teeth together. So I would always, drag them and put them close to where you're needing them, right? So that's both of them together. You can see you can shrink them and move them into, the right area that you want to move them into, right? I usually keep a little bit of a gap between the real teeth and my design tooth. And then what you can do this is on the full one. So the full one allows you to move them all. This is an individual one. I usually go right click and then bring to mesial contact once I've, done that. All right, so the next thing that I've done now that I've moved my teeth into there, you can choose different libraries in here as well. But I'm not doing that. I'm just using these ones. So the next step that I do is I use my smart tools, and I'm going to go, so this is contacts and smoothing. So this is a distance to gingiva. So if I want at least 1 mil of clearance, and if I hit play, you can see that it trims at least 1 mil of clearance out. So that's going to allow for room for my acrylic to flow, and whatnot. You can actually see that it's also trimmed it away from here because that is 1 mil. So I usually will come in here and just pull that just a little bit closer. Yep. But essentially, that will give me that a little bit of clearance. And if I pull it up from the bottom just a little bit again, now if I use my slice tool, I can see in terms of rough distance, I've got 1.2 mil. Yep. So that's plenty of clearance I'm chasing. All right. So now that I've done that, I take my model away, and what I use is I come into the smart tools. Oh, sorry, the attachments. Now I go to holes, and you can make your holes most probably insertion direction or global direction, but generally I'd choose insertion direction, which is going off the occlusal plane. And if you wanted to go, say, 3 by 5, and I would untick that so you can at least just go 1, 2. So it should be the same path of insertion on both. Oh, sorry, I did surface normal. Sorry. Let's go undo, undo, and go insertion direction. 1, 2. So that way they should be the same path of insertion. If I remove these teeth away a little bit, you can see how far up that comes. So I might want to move that. Out there, and then on this one, let's just move that up. So now I've created 2 holes within my teeth that will allow acrylic to flow up and in. Yep, so if I hit play all, now you can see I've got my holes in my teeth, which will then allow for that flow of acrylic. Cool. All right, so now that my teeth are, you can adjust them however you like, or if you had opposing teeth, you can do that as well. But that's the most important part that I've done there. Now, if I'm designing this like a flexible denture, but don't put any retention grids in, but major connector, would come in here and I would draw my major connector and I thicken it up. I've got these preset to be 1.5, 5, and 5, 0.5 and 0.5. I did that in the control panel, but you just draw around now where you wanted your flexible style denture to go to. Yep. Now, if I wanted to, I could, take my denture wherever I wanted it to, but, you know, you can right click on that line as well and go fast edit, and then you can go, I just want to take it to there. So, but you get the idea. I'm only just doing a small one here for a demo, but you can make that larger or smaller, whatever floats your boat. Yeah. All right, so once I've drawn where I want my partial main connector to go, that's all good. I can then hit preview, but actually I forgot to one other thing that you do need to do as well, guys, which I did forget about, but the fact that we've also designed our teeth now as well, this allows us to go back. We can kind of see, roughly speaking, where our teeth are. If we go back to this blocking out stage, so in the wax trimming, if you hit plus and you make this point, let's say, let's make it 0.5 or 0.6. Oh, 0.6 of a mil. Wherever your teeth are going to be, you can now, so you can see that right now by me drawing this on here, I believe my teeth roughly went to about there. Yeah. What this is also going to do, this is going to create a space of at least 0.6 of a mil for my acrylic to flow down under the denture to be part of that. That makes sense. Just move that away. Just take some of that edges away so it's a nice sharp edge. Cool. So essentially that gives us our spacer for the acrylic to flow in down below. So we've got 0.6 there. We know that the tooth is roughly, 1.2 mil. And then our, even I'll just pull these up just a smidgen more again, just so that, if I check, I've got 0.7 of a mil for the material to be in there. Then you go next, we've done our major connector, go clasps. I'm not going to bother doing a clasp. And then in the sculpt, this is where obviously you sculpt your partial frame. So let's say you don't want to take, when you're doing this particular step, you don't want to take this up high on the teeth, otherwise it's going to look rather ugly. So you want to try and keep this area a little bit lower. And I've designed this, as I said, I made this 1.5 mil thick. I think factory settings are maybe 1.2 mil thick, I think, for the thickness of the major connector. Oh, yes. Right, so what is also important, can you see where the holes are? If you want to fill them up, that's very important. You make sure that the whole area is filled up. Yep, cool. Now remove, so that you've got most of the tooth that you, if you were to pull that away, you can see that you just want to make sure that you've got the tooth sitting in that acrylic. Yeah, enough. And then on the back side here, just take a little bit more away from there. Once again, what's really important here is when the tooth gets taken away, that you don't have a big gap in here. So if you have this, see how you've got that apex line essentially here. So if you go too far above that apex line, then you'll have a really large gap. All right, cool. So that's pretty much all. That's our design mostly done. So that's going to engage, obviously, in those undercuts just there and there. So I'm going to go next. Finishing line, I don't do a finishing line. Sculpt RPD. So in here, if you use a smart tool and you create your contacts, like 1.2 is pretty good, or 0.12, I should say, and then hit play. And then you can see then it's trimmed away the area for the teeth to go in there to create that socket. So if I move the teeth away, because I also had the sprue in there, now you can see that I've got that sprue. So that's going to add as a stabilizing agent. Yeah. Now you can, in that sculpt tool, if you wanted to like soften that off a little bit, you can, just so that just on the edge it's a little bit more rounded. You could put a little bit of a retention groove in there if you really wanted to, just depending on, how much you wanted to go into it, It's just creating that mechanical retention, so that when you're milling it, it's got a little bit of something else to grab on. Now, if I go into attachments again and I choose holes, what I do is you can use insertion direction, or you can also use viewing direction. Viewing direction is generally pretty good on this one. And I don't do it one by one, but if I were to go, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I come over here and I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, let me just add one more in there. Oh, what have I done there? View direction. I'll just cut this final one out of here. So now you can see they're all pretty much well within that spaced area that I've got down there. I might maybe, looking at that, if I go undo, yeah, I'll just bring that one a little bit that way so that that is, it's fine. And then I'll just add one more in over here. Cool. So then that's where your acrylic is going to flow down and into as well. Yeah, cool. So there are going to be your holes. So you can see that your acrylic's going to flow down into there as your spacer. Next. And then obviously you have your teeth, which you can bring in and you can mill out or 3D print as well. Next. And pretty much well, next. This is a really, really fast video showing you how to do it. So, but once you've got it from there, you know, you could then send the teeth to the mill to mill. You could mill out the partial, and then essentially the process would be essentially to be using like a cold cure acrylic, like what Chris is doing here in this video. And essentially like what we did, paint some cold cure acrylic in there. This looks like it's like a beta tooth acrylic or something like that. And then basically pop it in the cold cure box and cure it. Yeah. So yeah, so that's pretty much all that, guys. Hopefully the video helps. You know, and pretty much, well, that's the design or something similar to that design is what I'll be doing for dental system for a partial. And if you go 3D preview now, just once again to have a look at that design, you could thicken it up a little bit on the edge there or smooth it off. I just tried to do that really quickly. But that is everything you need to do in a design, exactly how you should kind of be designing it for something like that myerson flexible denture. All good. Catch ya. Thank you. Bye.